Hi, I'm Drea. Have you ever made a mistake? I know I have. And no, I don't mean to link with this video. I mean protection. Oh, and not researching well enough for older videos or whatever. So to right my wrongs and make everyone understand far too much about a certain topic that has no bearing on society in any way, shape, or form. You know the Miis, the bubbly little avatars Nintendo used for the Wii? I'm so sorry to burst your bubble, I really am, but you don't know anything about them. If your knowledge begins and ends with the Wii games, then you have more than likely zero idea about even a hint of their story. Even those who have played every game featured in these may not get the full picture. You want to see their full development and history, know every game, every development story, and see how these things felt and why they're barely used anymore? Who said you had a choice? Look, trust me when I say it's an interesting story. Just sit back, relax, and witness the hidden tale of the Miis. Alright, so our story starts in the distant timeline of GDC 2007. For those who don't know, GDC stands for Game Developers Conference, and is a yearly event where developers talk about developing games because I don't think the press wants to hear about their children. Here, we can see the first incarnation of the Miis, initially made for the Famicom Disk System. If you ask me what that is, you have more of a social life than me, and I envy you. Shigeru Miyamoto, world-renowned creator of the best franchise of all time, Pikmin, and also the Red Guy or whatever, was the lead developer for this experiment, and he specifically stated how Nintendo higher-ups didn't see how it could be sold as a game, so it was shelved. Dude, you created Mario. After around a decade of waiting and Miyamoto officially entering his 20-year-long directing gap, he noticed that Nintendo accidentally released another disk drive, this time for the Nintendo 64. Can't wait for it to come out in America soon. Knowing his time was limited, he went into hiding and created... Mario Artist Town Studio was a Japanese exclusive 64DD game, and it was available exclusively through an online service in the year of our Lord 2000. It had 15,000 subscribers at the end of its life. Holy crap, that is abysmal. Why did they do this? Do you want to know how few people bought this game? It was at a point where Hiroshi Yamauchi, the actual president of Nintendo, made personalized messages for everyone who bought the game. Maybe. The way the translator at the keynote speech says it makes it sound like that, but I'm having a very hard time believing that, honestly. But you can see Yamauchi here, and judging by photos of the man from around the same time, it's honestly impressive how accurate it looks for the time. Reminder, this is running on a peripheral for a system where this is how Mario looks in his flagship game. Miyamoto talks about two main features for this game, an abundance of clothing features and a movie creator. Now, the Miis might not wear many clothes because they're all sick-free, but I could easily see this influencing the Tomodachi series years down the line, and a movie creator sounds a little to me like the Check Me Out channel, although that's a bit of a stretch. Either way, we can see genuine pushes by Nintendo to create avatars for their games. So you may have noticed this, but there's a 6-year gap between Mario Artist's release and the Wii's launch. Where the heck were the avatars? You don't want to know. Next up, we go to the e-reader. It only took 5 swipes to play Ice Climber. So worth it! Why do you have that? Miyamoto explains how this and the Game Boy camera could be used to transform this avatar concept into something special, and then his sleep paralysis demons took over. Stage debut was a result of all this, and is actually the direct predecessor to the Miis, so you better think poorly mocapped Olimar here. Miyamoto thought this would be successful! And not like a modest success or anything, his translator said it would be a huge hit. Are we sure we can trust this man? The Nintendo higher-ups unfortunately sobered up after 2000's little incident, so it was swiftly shot down for it. Do I even need to explain, like, what the hell is this? This was probably also influential for the Check Me Out channel. Like, Me Contest just screams this, okay? At this point, Miyamoto is crying in his office, with no Miis, no stage debut on shelves, and a scarily accurate low-poly version of his former boss. At this point, local funnyman Satoru Iwata comes into the room. He informs the poor creator of the biggest face in gaming ever that there was actually a small team working on something similar to him. Except they were getting results that the team really enjoyed. Miyamoto then promptly went,
"You guys are useless!"
and proceeded to consume their souls, undoubtedly for the production of Star Fox Zero in 10 years. He then went to work with this new team for a bit. At the end of his GDC speech for 2007, he specifically discusses how he was unsure of not only how this could be considered a game, but also how this could be as broadly accepted as possible, making it something anyone could use. The answer was the touchscreen the team was working on a DS game. After Miyamoto's 20-year-long petition finally came to a close, Nintendo was like, okay bub, we'll do the stupid Miis, but we're only going to make free games using them. Eventually though, it was decided to just make them a system function so that they could be used in any game. This was a really late game decision though, which meant that the developers of the Wii software had only 2 months to get this working. Yay! Booting up the Mii channel today? It's the Mii channel, what the hell do you want me to say? The coziest character creator on the face of the earth ended up also being one of the most polished for 2006. Built with a ton of features for the Miis, a lot of ways to characterize them outside of the face with stuff like a hat or favorite color. Don't even get me started on what some of those monsters made. You can bring Miis into the Mii parade to share them with friends, or what I do and make them run forever with no break despite their never-ending pleas. You can send them to your DS or 3DS, which helps the Miis transcend generations, which is super important for their longevity. Here's Joe Biden from 2008. Anyone want to play tic-tac-toe? So we've seen what the Miis are historically, how they've evolved, and probably leaked the home address of one on accident. But let me ask you this. Have you ever played Wii Sports? You know what this game is. Don't pretend to not know. The development, however, you probably don't have a single clue about. With a lot of games from the DS all the way to the Wii U, you're able to get a lot of insights on the development thanks to the Iwata Asks interviews. These are a collection of interviews with who else but the guy who made Miyamoto go mental a few minutes ago, and less importantly, the former president of Nintendo or whatever. Side note, these are incredibly cool to look back on in an archival sense. It's like stepping into a completely different time. If you're interested in checking them out, they are still on Nintendo's website in America, but there's always a chance they'll be taken down. Thankfully, they're also compiled into a book you can buy on Amazon, so go check it out. Wii Sports started with the heart and soul of the Wii remote. Nintendo EAD was tasked with making a few tech demos to demonstrate how the remote and dildo combo could actually be used for games. Although the Wii remote that we know today wasn't finalized yet, so they had to go with the prototype controllers, and if you know anything about the Wii's prototype controllers, how the hell do you play golf on that? With Nintendo, the creation of the controllers and early games for a system usually go hand in hand. We can see this in Luigi's Mansion, where the development team were able to ask for specific GameCube features, or Mario Galaxy, where that game has an unused model of a prototype Wii remote still left over in the code. Anyways, these prototypes would eventually be cleaned up and be split into 2 games. Wii Sports and the other one that came with a Wii remote. I forgot its name. Technically, there are more tech demos that were never in either of those games, but I would be spoiling stuff for later in the video if I talked about it now, so shush. The Wii accidentally became one of the biggest sensations of the 2000s, arguably of the century or even of all time. Because of its success, Wii Sports sold a couple copies, maybe like 2 or 3, I don't know. This game has become a legend. Everywhere you look for people of my generation, there's Wii Sports. On TikTok, you see reels using the title theme. On YouTube, you'll see jokes about throwing the bowling ball backwards. In my actual high school, in the biggest competition for seniors of the year, you'll see young adults mimicking the tennis controls and throwing Wii remotes at the TV. Totally unrelated, but my team ended up winning that thing. Is it sad that that's the biggest accomplishment of my life? You know what? No. Why think about the then when I can think about the then but older? Here's Wii Sports. I forgot I hate video games. One thing I will definitely say to start things off is that I love the vibes on display for this game. I also say this as someone with little to no nostalgia for Wii Sports, but as an observer of what it was at the time and what it represented, it's beautiful in some ways. The menu for Wii Sports is incredibly simple. Almost deceptively so. No, it's just simple. I'm not explaining how the sports play, you obviously know how they all work, which I think is incredibly genius. Nintendo wanted this thing to be incredibly understandable to everyone at first glance, so choosing sports that everyone knows is a brilliant decision. Like, say what you will about the other Wii launch titles, some of them are genuinely fantastic. They also had this thing. But no matter how good Wii Sports is compared to them, it will always be the smartest pack-in game I've ever seen. And with that said, I don't care about Wii Sports. I love what this game represents, being a gateway for a new type of gamer, and being an incredibly smart decision as a package, but the games are incredibly shallow. Each game is exactly what it says, and they do a perfect job at everything they do, but they don't go out their way to do anything more experimental. Well, that's where the 2 side modes come in. Training gives us free spins on each game to help you prepare for the art of virtual tennis. It's fine. I kind of wish that these games were just in their own modes for the sport, so that they could be experienced more and be put on the same playing field as the other sports. Because honestly, whenever I see the train section, my brain immediately goes, so wait, this is just a supplementary mode? I'm probably not missing much if I don't play it. Which is incredibly wrong. Some of these can be just as good as the other games included, and they're just not given the same amount of respect, and Then there's the fitness mode. It's also fine. Just takes free of the training games and gives out your Wii fitness age. Yeah, I think that said you were in your late 40s when you're 20s, so you feel like an old grill grandma. That started here, and my god, that's there alright. Overall, it's Wii Sports. Do you want me to repeat myself? Do you want me to repeat myself while slurring my speech? Imagine if Wii Play was bundled with the Wii instead. The development of Wii Play goes hand in hand with the development of the bowling simulator, so there isn't that much more to say about it. However, the way this game was distributed actually does have a unique story. Wii Play wasn't going to sell super well on its own considering how it's Wii Play, so Nintendo had to think about how the hell to make sure people get this game. They could have bundled it in with the Wii, but Nintendo would rather kill us all than have a good deal, so I have no idea how this made past the censors. So, their solution was to bundle it in with a Wii remote, which incentivized playing this game with a friend. I will say that's an incredibly smart idea, as it gets more people into the idea of trying out the Wii, which helped it spread to more and more people until it sold the original PlayStation. Are you f***ing kidding me? What else is there? Didn't launch in North America for a month or so. Everywhere else got it at the Wii's launch, but that's something, I guess. This tactic of giving a Wii remote away with a game has been used with other games, but it absolutely peaked with Wii Play. One of these looks like a Trojan horse to get more people into the idea of playing the Wii with their family and friends, and the other is just a clearance bundle. Anyways, how about we actually talk about the thing that I'm supposed to be talking about instead of hiding it from it because I have zero faith in my game critiquing skills. So, you know how Wii Sports is a really smart showing of motion controls to casual gamers who have potentially never used a controller before? Let's just go in chronological order here. Shooting range is essentially duck hunt. Shoot targets to get points, except there are different phases with different targets with different properties. Hey, even the ducks still show up. That's a nice touch. Something very weird here is that for as iconic as Duck Hunt is, it's actually only been re-released after the NES once, and that was on the Wii U Virtual Console, using this exact controller scheme actually. Nintendo needs to acknowledge weird peripherals like this more often, and I'm glad it happened here. The actual aiming feels a bit off, but it might have just been because we were using a Wii U gamepad as a sensor bar, so I don't know. Finding me is super shallow. It only really gets fun when your friend is struggling to find a me for 30 seconds, and eventually you have to help them find it. Table tennis sucks. I really don't like the controls, and it feels like it's just so sloppy to play at times. It's also just kind of weird because we've already seen something similar to this in Wii Sports. Shouldn't they try to give us more unique scenarios to show off the motion controls of Wii? Well, it's only one game. They probably have full unique experiences for the rest of the lineup. Surely. Pose Me is weird. Really weird. You have to fit your Mii into specific Mii-shaped holes using different poses, the pointer controls, and the general accelerometer. I will say that's probably the best showcase for the tilt controls of the initial tech demo so far, but it's Pose Me. I will say though, I kind of like how weird it is. Whenever I think of Wii Play, I think of Pose Me and its bird backgrounds. There's a very unique charm to it, despite how it's in the front of God. Laser hockey. Ew. First off, this is another game derivative of tennis and Wii Sports. I know they all show different aspects of the Wii Remote, but did we really need all three? Secondly, this is Pong. This is Pong with default physics were ass, the aesthetics were slightly better, and you had full 360 movement of the paddle. Thirdly, last thing I mentioned, having full 360 degree movement of the paddle, including moving it left and right and tilting features. That makes this feel awful. Genuinely, the other games are fine, some of them whatever. Laser hockey blows. Billiards is awesome because it deducts points depending on how many times you knock out your own ball, and my friend Jason did not know this. So when he destroyed my billiards virgin teeth, he was in shock when I won. And so was I. I don't like billiards as a game much, but that was hilarious. 10 out of 10. Fishing! It's not nearly as funny as billiards. I like the design of the fish, but that's really my only real takeaway. Charge! What the hell do you want me to say? It's charge from We Play. That's like asking what I should say to a streamer after the allegations surface. And finally, the one reason most people care about We Play today, tanks. It's tanks. Some people love it, some don't really care. Honestly, I don't care at all. It's fun and all, and I'm glad there's fan revivals on Steam and itch.io and stuff, but I just don't really care. So, what do I think about We Play? It's fine. I don't exactly have the urge to ever play it again, but I've said I was going sober on some games before, and you'll soon see that I've relapsed, so who knows? What I do know is that the Wii, the Miis, and the Wii Remote are about to go to the next level. A level that nobody could anticipate. Not Nintendo, not the public, especially not the development team. A level that can only be considered extraordinary. After the release of the Wii, along with Wii Sports, it and everything surrounding it became what some people would call extremely successful, but what I'll call a fad. Listen, I am not one to dismiss motion controls immediately. They have a very important role in our industry, and the Wii is a huge stepping point for popularizing them. It's just, when you release Link's crossbow training unironically, it becomes a bit muffled, you know? It's also important to note where the rest of the industry was at the time. The Xbox 360 had been dominating sales for about a year and would destroy the PS3 when it launched right alongside the Wii with a grand total of... that's like MotorStorm. The main point I'm getting across is that the Wii was selling to a completely untapped market. The rest of the industry was getting ready for Halo Free. Mobile gaming as we know it today, with the App Store and Google Play, wasn't even in the conversation yet as Steve Jobs was just gaslighting us to spend $500 on a 2G phone in 2007. For the casual gamer who just wanted to have some quick fun, you had free real options in 2007. Use Java to play a mediocre puzzle game on your flip phone which may not even have gaming capabilities. Buy a DS and play that super sexual rubbing game, or mess around with Matt. People played the super sexual rubber game first and then mess around with that. The DS was also becoming widely successful at the same time, partially because of appealing to this wider audience and partially because if Nintendo sold a portable toaster, it would probably still outsell the Wii U just because of that one adjective. So what am I getting at here? Well, it's pretty simple. Nintendo had the power of white moms on their side. And do you know what's going to appeal to white moms everywhere? That's right! Body shaming. You know Wii Fit, right? You do know it, yeah? What do you mean no? Wii Fit actually had a bit of a difficult development. Initially, the game was supposed to come out at the launch of the Wii, with Nintendo planning to release different SKUs with Wii Sports, Fit, and Play. The Wii Fit bundle would have been like $300 with a Wii Remote and balance board, by the way. I really think that would not have gone great for casual gamers. Anyways, the team was tasked by Miyamoto to include a bathroom-scale peripheral with the game to measure the player's weight and mock them. And this is where things go off the rails. Nobody knew what to do with bathroom scale. Both the Wii Fit development team along with Nintendo's hardware team were completely stumped. There were ideas to weight a player in the bathroom, plug in a USB drive to take that data, and put it directly into the Wii for the game, but like, what now? Where else does the scale come in for gameplay? Nintendo isn't Ubisoft, okay? You can't just add in a diabetes meter if you aren't going to actively use it in moment-to-moment gameplay. The Pokewalker doesn't count. That's where Takao Sawano comes in. He's been with Nintendo since the 70s, mostly working on peripherals and controllers, such as the Famicom's controller. When he saw the scales, he was also initially super stumped when it came to what to do. But then, he got an epiphany. Gay wrestling. Specifically sumo wrestlers, as they're too damn big to fit onto just one bathroom scale, so they have to use two. At least that's what I'm told. My real theory is one is for them, and the other is for their gay twink boyfriend. The Wii balance board is 2 bathroom scales you balance on to play hula hoops with. So the game was no longer cancelled, hooray! This game went on to sell more copies than there are cancer survivors in America. Yeah, that's all cool and stuff, but what about the actual game? Is it worth playing if you've never tried it out before? Oh, hell no. Wii Fit, despite being marketed as a game big enough to be bundled with the balance board, is really not that much more complex than Wii Sports to play. It definitely isn't a glorified tech demo, but I wouldn't say it has enough meat on its bone for a full release. There's multiple forms of exercises to experiment with, and you can say, oh wow, that's so much content, but I don't, honestly. Obviously, they have to be here considering they made software as broadly named as Wii Fit, but I don't think they should be the primary focus considering how this is the Wii we're talking about. There's a few mini games here focused on the balance board and using your balance to maneuver around some balls, hula hoop, walk over a tightrope, and these are all pretty fun. I just wish there was more of them. Well, too bad that will never happen. Guess I'll just have to deal with the buff monster and Ring Pig Adventure instead. What? Oh god, where were we? Oh, we're at a little bit of a detour. I know this video is about the Miis, but this audio is just too bizarre for me to just ignore. So, if you wouldn't mind indulging me for a little bit, want to play chess? So, this is a bit of an offshoot from the main Wii series. This is the only Wii series game without the Miis, without 3D graphics in any form, or hell, it doesn't even use any motion controls. The most the accelerometer does in this game is exit to the Wii menu when you're done. I would talk about the development history, if I could find it. I can't find anything about the actual development of this game, so instead of telling you the truth, I'm gonna have fun and gaslight you instead. The year was 2004. Miyamoto was Japan's king of chess. In between his sessions of tending to his garden and playing with his dog, he would go around to every chess match between children in Japan and absolutely destroy each and every person there. This all changed one fateful day. Miyamoto, when attempting number one in these escapades, was confronted by a security guard. It seemed that Japan had upped security in chess-related tournaments after Miyamoto inspired other people to do the exact same thing. This later led to Nintendo's Swap Note disaster of 2013, but that's for another time. He had no idea what to do anymore. After he went insane and forced a team into making a fitness game with a bathroom scale, he got an incredible idea. He would make a new game in the Wii series. It would be a chess game that you could play online. This way, Miyamoto could bully as many children in chess as he wanted to, without being the laughingstock of the country. This real-life story would later go on to influence Beyond Wonderworld. I don't really know what else to say. It's chess. You can play online. I like how it sounds, I guess. There's so little to this game, almost like it wasn't supposed to be a Wii series game at all. Okay, so a small rundown of stuff that I found out while researching. The game was in fact developed in-house by Nintendo SPD in collaboration with Kars, a studio that seemed to be a support studio that mainly worked with Atlas and MTO Incorporated. The game was released in Europe as Wii Chess, but this was the only region for it to be released under the Wii moniker. In Japan, it was released as Toyushin Taiyuko World Chess, which happened around 8 months after it released in Europe. Miyamoto hates Americans and would rather died and played chess against them, which is why it never released here. In Japan, the game got 2 sequels, the first being Toyushin Taiyuko Hayazashi Shogi Sadan, a shogi game. Shogi is a different form of chess in Japan. I don't exactly know how different it is than normal chess, but if you already have a chess engine, sure, go ahead, whatever. It came out before Wii Chess in Japan, what the fuck? The third and final game was Toyushin Taiyoko Igo Dojo 2700 Mon, which is a game called Go? It was created in China thousands of years ago and is apparently the oldest board game and is still being played today, which is cool. It also came out before Wii Chess in Japan. I'm actually losing my mind. What, did Miyamoto get chess banned for a period of time so it couldn't release until that exact day in Japan? What the You know what? Screw chess. Why care about that when there's so many other wonderful things in the world? Like music. If you're deaf, you're really missing out, bucko. If only there was a game that makes the best things in life. Music and a Wii wrist strap. I should stop asking for things. Wii music starts as all great things do. The ukulele Miyamoto got in middle school. Miyamoto is what we in the business call Schrodinger's musician. He tried out a bunch of different instruments in his early years, which made him appreciate music a lot and put a good deal of focus into it. Partially made Nintendo Music what it is today for games he was majorly involved in. You know, besides the actual composers and sound teams or whatever. No, it's all Miyamoto. But also, he kind of dropped all his instruments pretty quickly. Like me. I have no idea why Miyamoto and Iwata spent so much time going over this in the Ask Iwata interview. Like, is Miyamoto even a major contributor to Wii Music? Okay, he was a general producer, but like, that's more manager duties than anything, right? He wasn't working on the game day in and day out, was he? Where's Kazumi Totaka? That dude is a Nintendo legend. He was the one who directed this damn thing. So, around the time of the N64, circa 1999, Koji Kondo, another legend at Nintendo, was talking with Miyamoto about music games on PCs. He thought, hey, we have a huge music department, why don't we make a music game? He did end up supporting Donkey Konga in the GameCube era, but I think that's different than what he meant. A music game and a rhythm game can mean very different things if you let them. Apparently, Nintendo was prototyping something at the time, but nothing materialized from it. So Koji Kondo was stuck in this little music corner, doing whatever musicians do in their free time. Seems like a lot of ownership lawsuits. But you see, that's when E3 2006 comes through the door, as Nintendo is showing off the Wii and a bunch of tech demos over there go into God's Strongest Soldiers. There was one more that slipped through the cracks. It was Miyamoto, conducting an orchestra with a Wii remote. This was at the beginning of the conference too. Wii Music opened and closed 2 Nintendo E3 presentations. Hot damn. The game was initially going to be included in Wii Play, but they decided to spin it off as its own game. That actually makes a lot of sense. For about a year, the game struggled to get a footing, as apparently Nintendo forgot they needed to get people who focus on sound design for a game called Wii Music. Makoto Wada was one of the first people to jump from Wii Play over to Wii Music. He's known for working very closely with both Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out, piloting 64, as well as directing the minigames in the second Pokemon Stadium. He's also written scripts for multiple Nintendo games, including modern Pikmin games, Mario Sunshine, and the original Animal Crossing. He wrote Mr. Rossetti's dialogue, specifically so he is crazy, and I love him. Anyways, he had never really worked on the music of games before. It's also worth knowing that Kazumi Totaka, the director of Wii Music, had never directed a game before or since Wii Music. Basically, the development of this game was a bit of a cluster. People were being put into roles that they weren't well suited for or had no experience in, and there were internal disagreements on how to handle the game. The result? Yeah. Wii Music is the one game I talked about in my initial video where nothing really changed in my opinion. The game is just a mess, plain and simple. It's not unholy or anything, but just doesn't get anything right. One of the main modes in the game is music lessons, which I won't criticize too much considering how the intention is to get people to enjoy music more, but the game does this funny thing where it never penalizes you into lessons. If you want to teach someone how to play the trumpet, they need to know what they're doing and if it's right or not. Simple dialogue change is not nearly enough. There's also the jam sessions where you can play through a song. Think Fortnite Festival or Guitar Hero or something. Just kidding. Those games actually penalize your score for missing notes. Meanwhile, this game lets you play no notes at all or just add in notes anywhere. I would say it's part of freedom that you would like if you want people to enjoy music more, except in execution, it's less of freedom of expression I'm feeling, but more of a why the hell aren't I being penalized for not playing along to Daydream Believer? After all, if you tried to do your own thing in a concert, with a huge team playing alongside you, they would probably kick you out. There's a reason the note sheet is there. And you get to rate yourself. I think this game actually makes me dislike music more. It also doesn't help that the music sounds like dog water. I'm guessing Nintendo used MIDIs for all the instruments so that they can match up with all the songs, but it just sounds awful. The menu theme and the actual pieces designed for the game sound nice, but that's not the bulk of what you're hearing. Most of your time, you'll be hearing melted MIDI sound of classic, mostly public domain music that is not pleasing to hear. You can use the bounce board in this game. For the drums into jam sessions, that's dumb. It also barely worked for me, so let's chalk this up to a maybe. Then there's the actual games, including the conductor minigame that this was based on, under the name of Me Maestro. I'll be real, this minigame is not all that. It's a fun little distraction, but if you want it to be fun, you need to have more focused rules and just have fun with it, change the tempo as you wish. Something tells me that this was more Tataka's decision than anything. He's the one who lobbied for no score in the jam sessions, and they eventually settled on letting the player decide how they did it. So I think this was on him. Not entirely sure though. Handbell Harmony is a cute little game. I actually kind of like it. You have 2 bells and have to play them at the right time. Nothing massive, but it's neat. And then there's a bunch of music quizzes. If I wasn't obsessed with sorting things into satisfying order, you would be on thin ice Wii Music. And that's Wii Music. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and it shows. Looking into the development even a little has given me a really good insight on the game, to be honest. I used to think it was just a result of Nintendo being out of touch and not knowing how to capitalize on the Wii's success, but really, This project was doomed from the beginning. It didn't have the right people on it to make it what it could have been. I think having to talk as a director was a huge blow against the game. This man is very talented and deserves all his praise, but he just isn't meant to be a game director. He was out of his elements for this game, and you can see it everywhere. But that's life, I guess. Make mistakes and move from them. Okay, what's next? Oh my god! You might be looking at this game with some confusion. Arden Nintendo's recent publicity stunt on their music app, this game is fairly unknown to the Western world, as it is only ever released in Japan. Why is that? They knew it was too powerful for us to have it. Tomodachi Collection, the direct predecessor to the best video game of all time, and also one of the few DS games to ever use Miis. The system never got its own Mii Maker, but the games that supported them usually had Mii Makers built into the game. And you could also send your Miis from your Wii straight over to your DS, so you had options either way. Remember earlier in the video when we were discussing Miyamoto's mental breakdown? No, earlier. I didn't even talk about that. The Miis! Go to when Miyamoto was talking with Iwata about the Miis.
You guys are useless.
Okay, close enough. So, there's a DS team working on an avatar creator and it was going super well, right? This might sound crazy, and it doesn't perfectly line up considering the release date. But what if Tomodachi Collection was that game? Spoilers, it was. So, when I was first writing the script, there were a few issues, and one of them was the lack of a real development story for Tomodachi Collection. If you look on the English-speaking web, it's incredibly hard to find anything. This is where you have to get creative and go onto the Japanese Nintendo website with actual information on the game's development. I don't know how accurate Google Translate is though, so check it out with the knowledge that it's loosely accurate. Anyway, story time! Back in the Game Boy Color days, one Yoshio Sakamoto, known primarily for his work on the Metroid series along with a bunch of weird Nintendo series, think Famicom Detective Club or Rift from Heaven, was working on a Hamtaro game. Yes, Hamtaro accidentally created the Miis, I am not messing with you. In this Hamtaro game, subtitled Tomodachi Daisakusen Dechu, you could input information about your friends and it would give you their fortune. One of the female developers told Sakamoto that they would like to play a game similar to this, except made specifically for adult women instead of fetuses. Also, fun fact, this was the first Hamtaro game, like in general. You were the cause. Anyways, around 2005 was when Sakamoto decided to finally do something about this request. About 5 years too late, but whatever. Surely this won't change the course of Nintendo as a company forever. Initially, the concept was just to input information of your friends, family, Jack Black, and see what the fortune says for them. Oh, it looks like Jack Black is starring in Borderlands. Bad fortune. And this is where everything goes off the rails. One employee suggests creating an avatar system for the game. They show it to Iwata. He shows it to Miyamoto. Miyamoto verbally abuses his team. You see what happened here? These fuckers made the Miis by mistake. Sakamoto loses his team for about a year as they're busy getting the Miis set up for Wii Sports and eventually the entire system, but they eventually come back to him, and at this point they decide to broaden the scope of the game to appeal to not just me, but also everyone. I wouldn't have been mad if you made a game exclusive with me, just say Nintendo. This birthed the Tomodachi Collection that we know today, in gameplay at least. In terms of the goblin brain inside of it, that's another story that I'm still telling you because I love wasting your time. Please keep watching, I love you. Masanori Nakagawa. This beast is why Tomodachi Collection is Autism the video game. During the day, Nakagawa would do what his higher-ups told him to do, but at night, he was unleashed, doing whatever he thought would be funny or evil. The small list includes making the Miis sing, with stupid Mii heads photoshopped onto images, making the Miis talk, which came after singing, this is very important, and so on. The man is incredible, and I love him. I wonder what he's doing nowadays. Oh. I don't know how to transition out the depressing note, but most of that info I got from Thomas Game Dogs. Her video is what tipped me off about checking the Japanese Nintendo website, and it was very helpful. Her video goes into more detail and it's in the description. Thank you! So yeah, you get it, the game's important, cool, why was it added to Nintendo Music before Wii Sports? Do I look like I had any part in that? If anything, ask why none of the composers are credited on that stupid app. Tomodachi Collection is a life simulation game, where you play God on an island of Miis. Sound familiar? So, I only spent a little bit of time in this game. as you'll soon come to realize is not that big of a loss, but what's here is still really enjoyable. I played with my buddy Jason, check out his channel, just Jason, and we both had an absolute blast doing random shit with Miis. I'll go more in depth with another game that's a tad similar later. I have no idea what it is, you better stick around for it. Okay, so most of these games we've seen thus far were made in development with the Wii or were made without success in mind. But here, we have the beginning of what I like to call the Miis flow state. From here to around 2014, Nintendo was laser focused on the Miis, doing as much of them as possible. Obviously, they were still doing a lot of them before, but what I think is different here is that Nintendo's had a few years to figure out what exactly they want out of Miis. And of course, the start of my dubbed flow state is a game that needs no introduction. So I'm not going to give you one, you're just going to guess what I'm talking about. Fuck you, I guess. I think it was pretty obvious Wii Sports was going to get a sequel. This game is still, to this day, the best-selling Nintendo game of all time. Granted, Mario Kart 8 is probably going to swoop in and take that place, but still, over 80 million copies sold. You know how hard it is to get 80 million of anything sold? Pretty damn hard, I'll tell you that much. Wii Sports Resort was developed in tandem with the Wii Motion Plus accessory, which was Nintendo's way of silencing the criticism that the Wii Remote wasn't really advanced enough to truly detect motion. So now you have a gyroscope, have fun. Looks more like a chicken nugget than gyroscope to me personally, but to each their own I guess. The idea of a Wii Sports sequel was rolling around the minds of Nintendo's staff for a while, however the actual focus for the project wasn't really there. Wii Sports was hellbent on showing you how to box with wire between your wrists, but the sequel would have to rely on the same technology as the first game, and they weren't sure if it would be eye-catching enough. That's when the prototypes for the Wii Motion Plus accessory came around, and some of the team members who worked on the original got a chance to mess around with the little nugget, and it became clear to them what they must do. Then after making the instructional videos, they made Wii Sports Resort with the money they had left over. One of the most interesting aspects of Resort's development, however, is its setting, Wuhu Island. In the Iwata Asks interview for Resort, it said that a certain designer at Nintendo had an idea as Miyamoto, why the hell is it always done? He had this concept of turning a setting into a character, something that would appear for years and be as recognizable as the big boys. I mean, Wuhu Island isn't the best-selling Mario game of all time, so maybe? Despite sounding like what The Sims call sex, Wuhu Island has made many appearances over the years. It's crazy. It was the main location of every Wii Fit game, it was in future Wii-related games, it got a Smash Bros. Stage, it got not one but two Mario Kart tracks in 7, a battle course that returned in 8 Deluxe, and most interesting of all, it was almost in Wii Sports. So, little fun fact, researching for games can be difficult sometimes. My blanket first go is always searching game name, development, and most of the time that shit goes nowhere, or leaves out super interesting finds. So, shout out to John Cartwright at Good Vibes Gaming for this tweet showing me the glorious, majestic, yeah, it's the island flyover. I will say here, the island looks way more bare bones, there's nothing that interesting going on. But I also kind of doubt this was going to be in the final version of Wii Sports, even in the best timeline. Yes, it's a great showing of motion controls, but it isn't a super universal sport like the other games there were. Like pretty much anyone you could go up to can bolt, but it's way harder to know anyone who can fly a plane like this. Actually, fun fact about E3 2006. I decided to watch the press conference after I learned about this because I thought there might be more I missed, and Wuhu Island was first showed off directly after Mario Galaxy. How come nobody told me this was in the opening highlight reel? What the fuck? Also, look at this person pretending Red Steel's real. Like, come on, buddy. I know how screen transitions work. I know this is pre-recorded. You don't have to lie to me. It's so weird to think of Wuhu Island as a place that only came into existence with Resort, but really its existence is as intertwined with the Wii's whole history as the Miis themselves. The Miis colonized Wuhu Island. Honestly, reading up on the island's lore is kinda strange considering this is a Wii Sports game. Like, I'm a Sonic fan, I greatly appreciate it, but it feels incredibly strange. There were two Mii civilizations, they fought to the death, something go by Jess. And now we finally get to it, what I've been avoiding this entire time. Wii Sports Resort might be the best minigame collection Nintendo's ever published. If you grew up with this game, you probably have the same opinion, but I don't think you get it. Resort isn't just good from a nostalgia standpoint. I have zero nostalgia for this game at all, and didn't play it once until my teenage years. I think what makes Resort so much better than the original comes down to 3 key factors. 1. There's so much more to do now. With the original, there was only so much you could do until you get bored. It was a pack-in game, that's how these usually go, but here, there's far more content, with over twice the minigames and even side modes for them. You also don't have to go digging through training to find them, they're just right there for you to unlock. I really like that. 2. It feels far more alive. Wii Sports came out at the launch of the Wii, and let's be honest, that's not an excuse for it to look like it does. Plenty of the Wii games look interesting today, but Resort actually holds up super well graphically. 3. I love Woohoo Island. Big shocker, but the stupid island is actually a really memorable place, and I love seeing it when it appears. Also, the addition of Wii Motion Plus, the games feel so much more fun to play, too. I don't want to sound like a Nintendo advertisement or anything, but the added gyroscope really does help with the small movements and makes a lot of games here that much better. Like, look at tennis in the original. Shaking the Wii remote to hit the ball was pretty much substituting a button press. It was still fun due to the action it was replicating, but wasn't very precise. Here with table tennis, you can actually feel the smaller movements way easier, which makes the game that much more enjoyable. Speaking of smaller movements, archery might seem weird to add in, but I think it's great. The regular IR sensor in the Wii Remote has this tendency to hate pointing at the screen, so the gyro helps by simulating it as well, so both combined make a very precise pointer system, which just so happens to make archery a lot more fun for someone like me who has a horrible accuracy. Oh good lord, don't even get me started on swordplay, it's so good. You probably know that though, it's swordplay in Wii Sport Resort, no crap, it's amazing. There are some stinkers here, like the Frisbee game never felt right to me in either of the modes. Probably had something to do with me not caring about the wind direction, though it's still really fun. I've never been a fan of golf, but I do really like the option to use classic Wii sports holes. That's a really nice touch. And why the hell can't I use the normal left-handed control method in jet skiing? Basketball works fine. Archery works fine. Jet skiing and cycling force you to use the right-handed control scheme though, and it pisses me off. Honestly, my biggest complaint with Resort, minus the left-hand discrimination, is that's just stranded on the Wii. This game never got ported to another system, never even got discounted via Nintendo Selects. It's trapped on a nearly 20-year-old system that can't connect to modern TVs, and its 2012 successor that nobody bought or cares about besides me. That sucks. I would buy this game again. Even if they had the bundle in a Wii Remote and an IR sensor, it would be wonderful for this game. I think every game deserves to be experienced for generations to come, no matter their quality, or whatever peripherals they require. It makes a lot of the Wii games subject to being lost to time, unfortunately. They won't become lost media, but the way they were intended to be played will be lost someday, and that's incredibly unfortunate. Port Wii Chess to Switch 2! I think it's time to move on. There's still a ton of ground to cover, and we're not even halfway done. I think. I don't even know! So do you remember Wii Fit? What do you mean no? I talked about it like 20 minutes ago. Wii Fit Plus is basically Nintendo going, wait, we can do better, I promise. And they basically resold the same game then. Development of this money laundering scheme started around the time Wii Fit wrapped up. Miyamoto admits in the Iwata Asks interview that they decided to go with it just because Wii Fit was a huge success. A third of that interview is about weighing your dog. I'm not joking. So, I never grew up with most of the Wii series games. I played a bit of Wii Sports when I was really little, but most of my experience with these games was well into my teenage years. And some games I'm playing for the first time ever. I'm playing this game for the first time ever. It's not that the Wii Fit series are bad games or anything, it's just that in the modern lens, they don't have that much to analyze to differentiate from each other. You can make dedicated workout routines, which would be nice in 2009. I'm sorry, but there's a reason people still buy Wiis today. It's because they're fun no matter when. Wii Fit just does not have that staying power at all. It also doesn't help that the peripherals made for this game, but most games for the Wii really, just aren't going to last. The Wii Remote and its connection port have given me countless issues in the past, and you can even see it in this footage here. The nunchuck just refuses to respond no matter how much I shake it. I think that's what happens when you design an entire system around a motion controller, and a lot of games require shaking it and another motion controller connected only by a sometimes faulty wire. It sucks, but there's not much I can do about it. Anyways, Wii Fit Plus. It's Wii Fit? Oh boy everyone, we're at the dawn of a new decade. And you know what that means? It's time for a party! This relationship can't be built on a foundation of lies. So before making this video, I had at the very least some history of most of, if not every Mii-focused Game War series in some way, shape, or form. Wii Sports, I've played every game at least once. I played Wii Play, Chess, and Music for my original video. I played Wii Fit before, Tomodachi Collection, I at least played its sequel. But Wii Party? I've never played it or its sequel once. I've barely even seen footage of it being played before. I decided to track down some gaming magazines for this part, just to see what reviewers were thinking about Wii Party, and stumbled on the Game Informer issue from the month it was released. Sonic 4 was on the page above it and scored almost twice as well as Wii Party. Now, it is worth noting that these are from two different reviewers, Tim Turry and Phil Collar, both very well respected in the industry. It's also so weird hearing a reviewer talk about the mid-2000s Sonic games as if they were horrible, but I think that's just how far removed we are from that point, which is good. Something also worth noting is that this game is developed by none other than ND Cube. ND Cube was formed in 2000 from a joint venture between Nintendo and an advertising firm named Dentsu, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Nintendo owned a controlling share since the beginning, so I don't know why they weren't just called Nintendo Cube to begin with. Am I calling them that now that it's officially changed? No! They started out just working on F-Zero Maximum Velocity and some smaller games for other publishers. Despite being fully controlled by Nintendo, I guess they could just do whatever they wanted. Then 7 years went by. Absolutely nothing had released with their name on it since 2003. It's really bizarre looking at their resume. Like, how do you explain 7 years of nothing? Well, it just so happens that this was around the time Hudson Soft, the original developers behind Sonic Shuffle and the other one, was sort of getting suplexed by Konami. They had a controlling share in the company and just started bleeding staff before the name was killed and Bomberman was under the same company as Frogger. So a lot of Hudson developers were left without a job, and a lot of them ended up going to ND Cube as refuge. They made Wii Party, and ever since, ND Cube has been consistently getting work, mostly for Mario Party. They did make everybody want to switch. I still refuse to believe that game is real, there's no fucking way. Anything else worth mentioning? Oh, right, this game is the 10th best-selling Wii game, right below Mario Galaxy at a whopping 9.35 million copies. Suggest to me, or is this a little less than I expected? Well, obviously the Wii would never stay popular forever, but this was only 4 years into the system's life. For comparison, at the Switch's 4th year, there were still games that had yet to be revealed that would sell over 10 million copies. Splatoon 3, Mario Party Superstars, Mario Wonder, hell, Tears of the Kingdom and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold 20 million copies over 5 years into the system's life. To me, Wii Party is what really signals the end of the Wii, and the downfall of the Miis. People just didn't care as much, and while the Wii was still popular, it would only be a matter of time before that popularity died down, and was coming faster than anyone expected. It also doesn't help that the game isn't very good. For this video, I decided to just go through the main board with a friend and see what happened. It was, This only happened yesterday as of writing this, and I still have nothing to say. The game is just nothing. It feels calculated in a way. It's like the most inoffensive party game I've ever seen. Like, it technically succeeds at everything it sets out to do, but doesn't try that much original in the first place. As a positive though, I do like the concept of whoever wins the minigame gets to go first and gets a bonus dice. It gives a lot of incentive to win the minigames, because this game's board is fully linear and you win by reaching the top first. And there's only one board. I guess that makes my job easier, but then again, look at all these modes. Are any of these of substance? We tried the bingo mode just to see, and nope. It's just bingo, but you can get mini games rolled, and you have Miis instead of numbers. Riveting. Would I call Wii Party a bad game? Not necessarily. It's super unfocused though, and considering ND Cube's track record after this game, I think this is sort of inevitable. I will say it would be nice to get a follow-up nowadays, but an ND Cube that actually knows how to make an amazing party game. It's obvious they had a lot of growing pains, but now I fully trust that they could make a great Wii Party follow-up. Too bad the Wii series is pretty much dead. Speaking of the Wii series and death, our next game acts as a spin-off of sorts. It was present at the launch of a certain Nintendo handheld, the Game Boy Color. So, do any of you remember Pilot Wings? Yeah, me neither. Pilot Wings is often forgotten in Nintendo's lineup of franchises, but it's also a very prolific series, dating all the way back to the launch of the Super Nintendo, being one of the first games to use the Super FX chip. This chip was used to simulate 3D on the system, which mostly resulted in transforming sprites to look like they were on a three-dimensional plane. So obviously they took their first chance to make real 3D Pilotwings. Pilotwings 64 was a launch title for the Nintendo 64, when it free worldwide. Imagine if Mario 64 got delayed. 64 differs from the original for reasons I don't think I need to explain unless you're like blind or something. So after 2 flight simulation games on 2 Nintendo systems, they decided to do the unthinkable and actually have a variety on their next console's launch, the horror. Apparently there was a sequel being made to Pilotwings 64 being it's around 1997 or so, but Nintendo didn't have the resources to put to a sequel. I'm just gonna be wrong and assume Super Monkey Ball replaced Pilotwings as the Nintendo launch title. Anyways, jump to E3 2010, where Nintendo showed off its sexy new handheld, the Nintendo 3DS. Also, fun fact here, this E3 showed off Kirby's Epic Yarn too, and a port of that game was the last Nintendo published 3DS game. I just find that really interesting and a fun coming full circle thing. The 3DS had this desire to punch way above its weight during its entire life. And this was evident as very first breath, as one of the first games demoed was Wii Sports Resort! Just kidding, it was Pilotwings Resort. Ha, you fell for it again. Still, it's pretty obvious that this game was reusing a lot of Resort, from its initial reveal to its release. The characters are all Miis, the game takes place on Woohoo Island, there's minigames taken directly from Resort, you get it. Would this game just be an expanded Wii Sports Resort instead of a return to Pilotwings? No, but surprisingly kinda. Before we get into the game, there's some key takeaways I want to go into with the development. For starters, a lot of launch titles for the 3DS got their own Iwata Asks interviews. Nintendogs Plus Cats, Steel Diver, even games not published or developed by Nintendo, like Super Street Fighter 4 or Ridge Racer 3D. Pilotwings Resort? Nah. This says to me 2 things. 1, Nintendo probably paid off a few developers, specifically Capcom, to be at the launch of the system and had some sort of cross-promotion deal going on. And 2, the more important thing, Nintendo doesn't care to tell us anything about this game, which is super weird. Iwata had more to say about fucking Pro Evolution Soccer 2011 than one of Nintendo's headlining games for their new system, one of the first games they used to show off the features and capabilities of the 3DS. There's gotta be something to the game's development, right? Well, Monster Games helped develop the game, along with Nintendo SPD, specifically Group Number 3. SPD Group 3 isn't too interesting. They were a support studio used primarily for communications with games published by Nintendo but developed by non-Nintendo studios. I don't think SPD had that big of a part in Pilotwings Resort to be honest, but that's just speculation. Monster Games, on the other hand, are a Minnesota-based developer, best known for working on the rebooted Excite games on Wii. They later ported Donkey Kong Country Returns to the 3DS and helped with Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, also on the 3DS. Ever since that game though, they haven't really done anything for Nintendo, but they're still in business and recently released their own game, World of Outlaws Dirt Racing. Give it a look if you have a second, seems cool. Anyways, I think that's all I'm going to be able to get out of its development. Might as well actually talk about the game itself. Is that why you clicked on this video? I forgot. First thing to note is the opening. Normally I wouldn't note this, but considering how great Resorts was, I'm expecting something at least half as good as that. This is even the start of a new system, for God's sake. You could add your signature to your flight card? That's okay. If you're expecting something crazy, or think you're missing out, you're really not. Pilotwings Resort is an expansion of the item Flyover and Wii Sports Resort, which is a great part to flesh out more, and it does do a good job at expanding it. There's different challenges, more flight modes, the music is surprisingly some of the best in 3DS's lineup, which is insanely high praise coming from me. It's just, there was probably a reason Pilotwings is a dormant franchise for so long, you know? I haven't played the original or 64, but I did enjoy my time with Resort. It just feels like a filler game more than anything. There is not a lot of substance, and it doesn't really even use the features of the 3DS much. For my time playing, there was no use of the gyro, the touchscreen barely, circle pad is used but that's a given. I was playing on Citra, so I couldn't test out the 3D, but knowing early 3DS games, it probably was not tuned that well. I can see it being an okay showcase of 3D though, considering the pilot is in the general focal point and doesn't move too much. Oh, also the game looks like ass. I mean, the Wii wasn't home to that many lookers, but Resort did look pretty pleasant. This looks like fuck. So yeah, this was a boring tech demo that didn't show too much off other than the 3D, and it wasn't even bundled in with the 3DS, so it wasn't going to make an impact. It was just there. At least it's not Steel Diver though. So after the ravaging success of both the 3DS and Pilotwings Resort, bringing the series into a long-lasting renaissance, Nintendo slashed the 3DS's price almost immediately. I won't linger on this for too long because if you're still watching, I'd genuinely be impressed if you didn't know, but the 3DS's sales after its launch were a bit abysmal. All I'm saying is this is the same company that has only lowered the price of the Switch once in the US before the Switch 2 was revealed, and it was only for Black Friday, it wasn't permanent. The 3DS gained a permanent price cut less than 6 months after releasing is bad. Like, really, really bad. It did save the system, yes, but consoles don't usually need a price cut until years into their lives. I'm saying this because as Nintendo continued into the 2010s, so did the Miis. And when Nintendo fell, the Miis were right there to fall with them. Maybe this was by design. The Miis were never meant to be as popular as they ended up being, and what caused their popularity? Was it the games, the Mii characters, or was it sustained only by the unsustainable growth of the Wii? I think there's only one way to know for certain. We play motion. Before we talk about the main course, let's take a look at these developers. They're all vastly different, coming from different walks of life. One made the best Yoshi game in years. One we saw recently, a renowned party game developer. One is owned by Sonic creator and felon Yuji Naka. Which one of them developed this game? You're wrong, all of them did. Do you know how difficult it is to get 2 development teams to cooperate with each other? This game had 9 developers. Also, this game wasn't showing off any new technology. Wii Motion Plus was old at this time. People weren't excited by it anymore. And really, that rings true for the Wii as a whole. Wii Play Motion was announced with zero fanfare, released right after E3 2011, where the Wii U was announced, and if you know anything about that E3, you would know that it was eventful for Nintendo. I decided to watch it for this video, and Iwata has this really interesting speech about how casual and hardcore gamers are divided by the platform, and how he wants to make a platform that can satisfy both equally. Okay, I see where he's going with this. He then starts talking about the Wii U. Well, the important thing is a platform that can satisfy both sides of the gaming community would be incredibly impactful. And looking back at this in the modern day, it is incredibly impactful. That is essentially what the Switch is, to be honest. It attracts literally every type of player under the sun, including Nintendo fans, casual gamers, the hardcore crowd, older gamers who haven't touched anything in years, and that eventually leads to the first system in well over a decade to sell over 150 million units. Anyways, off topic, Wii Play Motion was slotted in at a busy time. It had zero build-up. The Wii was on the way out. It wasn't even doing anything interesting with the Wii Remote. Wii Play Motion, to me, is just a sign. A really, really, really bad sign. Now, not all of Wii Play Motion is bad. I did have fun with it, like the other games. The only game in the series I had zero fun playing was Wii Music, so it's not abysmal or anything, it's just lifeless. I know that's frankly insane to say about a minigame collection, but really, think about it. Wii Play was not a perfect game by any means, but it felt way more impactful. It was it, and Wii Sports that really said, motion controls have a place in this industry. It sounds dumb, I know, but it had something important to say. You can say that about a lot of the Mii games as well. Wii Fit said that fitness games do have a place in the industry. Wii Sports Resort said that a gyroscope can help games go even further beyond an accelerometer. Tomodachi Collection said that the Miis don't need to be limited to one console or just limited to minigame collections, and their innovations can run wild for years to come. Wii Play Motion? It's just a fairly by-the-numbers Wii minigame collection, and that's about it. That would be it for 17 months. The Wii U's reveal to release timeline was more underwhelming than anyone could have predicted. A week before Wii Play Motion launched, the Wii was officially announced at E3 2011, as mentioned previously. Reggie Fils-Aimé, former president of Nintendo of America, discusses part of what Iwata discussed previously in the conference, the importance of delivering to both the hardcore and casual player bases of the gaming industry. This importance, this pressure to appeal to both of these demographics, is what I think truly sunk the Wii U. It all comes down to the name. This demographic issue was so bad for Nintendo that even the Wii U's name is confused as to which demographic it should be aiming at. Should it be the hardcore or the casual? It's like Nintendo had no idea how to actually appeal to both markets and accidentally took the worst aspects of both for the Wii U. The initial reveal trailer for the system, however, has an entirely different story to tell. We see the usual Nintendo suspects you would expect at the time. New Super Mario Bros., Wii Sports, Wii Fit, but no hardcore games. Nintendo could say they're trying to appeal to both groups, but one group gets actual gameplay of multiple games, and the other gets a pre-rendered demo of a Zelda game that ends up never being made. One thing I will say about the gaming community at large is that they will notice this, and they don't forget. I know this may seem trivial, however this is very important knowledge, not just for the context going into the Wii U generation, but also so that more people understand why the Wii U truly bombed. There were more factors as well, but this factor shows the real root of the problem. Nintendo was unfocused, plain and simple. The Wii U was then mostly left to wait for another year until E3 2012. This was another huge blunder, but if I kept mentioning each problem, then we would be here for an additional 5 hours. E3 2012 is important though. We get to look at what would become the Wii U's demonstration in terms of its technology, Nintendo Land. Nintendo Land started as experiments for the Wii U gamepad, starting development around the time Wii Sports Resort was wrapping up and with the same team. If you've played Nintendo Land, you would know that the games do not have much synergy with one another, unlike Wii Sports. The team decided to amend this by theming the games as attractions in an expo. The development of this game seemed to go through a similar process as Wii Sports and Resort, where they were able to run wild with their ideas. Did these experiments pay off, however? Yes and no. This is going to get pretty darn negative, so let me preface this here. I love Nintendo Land. The games in this package are super fun, whether with friends or alone. Even the more forgettable games could be a lot of fun. Luigi's Ghost Mansion, for example, will always be a game I'm whipping out with friends. It's a great crowd pleaser. I also really like Donkey Kong's Crash Course. I'm completely terrible at it, but its physics-based movement has always made it super addicting to me. Octopus Dance is great too, you're all just cowards. So while I do really enjoy Nintendo Land as a game, as a tech demo, it's just not that good. Like at all. As much as I'm willing to praise it, Nintendo Land had one main purpose, and that was to show off how the Wii U gamepad could help make games more fun and enticing. Octopus Dance could be played fully on the TV with just minor tweaks, no gamepad necessary. Captain Falcon's Twister Race can be played on any controller with a gyroscope, which is most Nintendo controllers nowadays. It could have been done with DualShock free at the time too. Donkey Kong's Crash Course, bless its heart. Just remove the microphone gimmick and it works perfectly too. There's very few games here that seriously need 2 screens to function properly. A touchscreen maybe, but at that point you can use a phone or portable system. The only games I could say absolutely need the gamepad or dual screens to function as they were intended are the competitive games, Takamaru's Ninja Castle, and Yoshi's Fruit Cart. That's 5 out of the 12 games included, which isn't even half of the games, in a mini-game collection meant to show why the Wii U gamepad is essential. Even the competitive games could be reworked to use online multiplayer or local multiplayer with multiple systems instead. This is the true problem with Nintendo Land. It succeeds with being a fun and worthwhile game, however fails with being a tech demo in every way. It comes down to focus, yet again. Nintendo Land, like the Wii U itself, was unfocused on how to actually show off its unique strengths. Moreover, the games themselves, while fun, are not something you can show anyone and they would immediately get. For my money, that's why Wii Sports worked so well. The minigames there were incredibly simple, but that was what made them so approachable. Not everyone can wrap their brains around using the control sticks in tandem, or using the control stick with the touchscreen, or maybe even using the shoulder buttons at all. Casual gamers can't understand them unless they're attributed to something they already know and understand well. Everyone knows how to swing a baseball bat. Not everyone is good at it, but you know the motion. Nintendo Land, in my opinion, was never going to achieve even a piece of Wii Sports' ludicrous success, even if the Wii U was a success for Nintendo. Too much was working against it. All of it being Nintendo's own doing. Okay, this made me incredibly depressed. Can we get a palate cleanser or something? Remember how I said I didn't grow up with most of these games really? Well, there is one major exception. One exception that I would sacrifice my newborn for. Tomodachi Life is potentially the game I played the most growing up, and I'm not lying when I say that. More than Sonic Adventure 2, more than Pikmin 3, even more than Mario Galaxy, my favorite video game of all time. It was also the first game I was actively following its build up to launch, in America at least. The game took about a year to be localized in English, which I'm so glad it did because this game shaped so much about me. The moment that made me realize I needed this game was the Tomodachi Life Direct. This was when Nintendo Directs were more like comedy skits than anything, and I think that usually takes away from the games themselves. There's a reason I say usually though, because it was the perfect decision for this perfect game. This Direct was the most Nintendo acknowledged jams before Metroid Prime 4's announcement, and yes, I'm counting Federation Force, that game barely even has her in it. Although, I would be lying if I said the release of this game was perfect. Actually, it was pretty controversial for Nintendo. A lesser person would simply avoid this due to the nature of the issue, but no, fuck that. People need to know when this stuff happens. So, in the game, you can get married and have a child, right? Well, you can't marry anyone of the same gender. There was a glitch in the Japanese version to do it, but was patched out in this release. Unfortunately, this was something that was hard-coded into the game, so there wasn't much Nintendo of America could do to mediate it. But don't worry, because they were also awful about this. When asked for comment, Nintendo of America said they never wanted to, and I quote, spark social commentary. Gay people are not social commentary, depending on who you ask anyways. Eventually, Nintendo made a second response, apologizing for everything, and saying that in the future, they would try to add same-sex relations to the Tomodachi series. I'm not going to talk about it much more just due to my own sanity. If you want to know more, there's another Thomas Game Dogs video in the description. I swear the game is good. At least, I think it's good. Actually, I don't care, I still love it. Why is it always the best shit that's homophobic? If I can boil down Tomodachi Life into one word, it would be ADHD. If you don't count it because it's an acronym, I would say autism. You watch over an apartment filled with a bunch of Miis, all trapped on an island. They can become friends, date, get married, have children, and yes, your IRL parents can marry, then divorce in the span of an hour. That one happened to me as a kid, and yes, it was hilarious. That seems pretty simple, but what truly makes the game special to me is what surrounds the core loop. You have small games set up by the Islanders, they have dreams you can watch, their songs are certified bangers I'll be jamming to until I'm dead. And the best part is these are all Miis. This can be anyone you can think of, being in these batshit insane scenarios. You can have SpongeBob rapping against Walter White. I don't need to explain why that is amazing, you already get it. I could go on this huge rant about everything I love about this game, but it would be boring and drawn out. You get the idea. This game was made for me. Too bad it called me the F-slur the moment I opened it. Most of the history of this game's development was shaped by Tomodachi Collection's development, so I decided not to really talk about it here. What I will say though, live in the dream. Buy it when it comes out. It might not be the exact same game, but I'm okay with that. I want to show Nintendo that people genuinely want more quirky, batshit insane games like the Tomodachi series. There's a very important spark that's in this game. A spark that I want more people to experience. Also, the gay marriage controversy is probably going to happen again, but in reverse this time. This is so great to hear. God bless America. Okay, I think we need to move on. These next 3 games released incredibly close to each other. How close? 1 week. They all came out in the final week of October 2013. I had no prior experience with Wii Party. Do you think Wii Party U is any different? This game has absolutely nothing in terms of history I can find. I found an unused Player 5 icon on the cutting room floor, but that's about it. No development stories, no real excitement at all, nothing. Nintendo had more to say about Wii Play Motion than this, and that seems incredibly odd. So if there's no development stories to gather, why did NDQ immediately go to work on this right after Mario Party 9? It was because the first Wii Party sold 9 million copies, isn't it? Unfortunately, I'm not a journalist. I don't have insider knowledge of the industry, and it would be next to impossible for me to get that. But it just seems weird to me. This wasn't the only ND Cube game to release in the holiday of 2013 either. Mario Party Island Tour was also hitting shelves, same day as Mario 3D World and Link Between Worlds. What the hell is going up with this awful scheduling, Nintendo? Considering this, and how ND Cube usually worked on only one game at a time if they could at this time, this leads me to 2 potential pointers to the development. Either one game was finished for a while and Nintendo just wanted to release it, or they went the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet route. After playing the game for myself and making my own opinion, it's harmless, at best. Wii Party U is just a plain sequel to Wii Party. Some games use the Wii U gamepad, which is kinda cool, but it falls into the same general pitfalls as the first game. There's a lot of variety in terms of modes, but none of them are very deep at all. The game definitely looks better, but still a Wii Series game in terms of looks. I didn't have anyone to play with me here unlike the first one, so maybe that dampened my enjoyment a bit, but I don't know. This just feels like another Wii party and not much more. Okay, one game down and it's just okay. I can handle that. What's next? Okay, so this second game in the trilogy technically came out last, but I'm going out of order for reasons that will soon come apparent. Wii Fit U just sort of spawned out of thin air, like Wii Party U in game number 3. Technically, we saw some glimpses at a new Wii Fit at E3 2011, but it said literally nothing about what could be done with the gamepad. At E3 2012, the game was properly shown off for the first time, and it looked like another Wii Fit game. I'm beginning to sense a pattern. I actually have some background with this game. During the pandemic, I wasn't able to do my regular workout routine, which is swimming, as pools were closed and wearing a mask in a pool is kind of difficult, I'm gonna be honest. So I said screw it and bought this game and a balance board, and my overall opinion of this game back then was somewhat underwhelming. I had fun with the game, but I don't remember the workouts giving me much of a workout at all, and the games felt more annoying than anything. Revisiting the game for this video, and yep, that's definitely how I feel. I'm actually able to go to the gym now, so Wii Fit U has to actually stand out with its games for me to really want to recommend it. It's just more Wii Fit. Pretty much all the content from the original and Plus are here, although there are some missing games from Plus. There's a few new minigames involving the gamepad though, and they were just boring to me. The scuba diving one uses the balance board and the gamepad gyro in tandem, and it just doesn't feel calibrated well at all. There's a whole dancing section here too, and I didn't really try it out for this video, but from what I remember back in the day, it was actually pretty fun. You can also use a pedometer to track your real life steps and put that into the game. This is based on the Pokewalker from Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It is still weird to think about, but that pedometer was one of the most accurate of its time. For a side mode in a remake of a Game Boy game, I don't get Game Freak, man. It's still very accurate now, although I sort of lost mine, so I wasn't able to use it for this video, sorry. Overall, Wii Fit U is just another Wii Fit. You're missing nothing if you only had Plus, or hell, even just the original. Okay, so in our game, that's just alright. You're starting to twist my balls here, Nintendo. How about you throw us another heavy hitter? I want you to fully understand where Nintendo was when this came out. They were in the midst of their worst financial year ever. Most of their games were flopping no matter the quality. The only real successes were on the 3DS, and the Wii U was just flat out screwed. The entire first year of the Wii U's first party lineup was filled with games that either looked identical to games that you had on the Wii 6 years ago, games that were amazing but were way too niche to have an entire system ride on, and whatever the hell Sing Party was. But there was one thing that Nintendo thought could save the system, even if every other game flopped horrifically. Seen at E3 2011, there was a game that was shown to use the gamepad to make an old game more in depth. Whatever, 2013. During a Nintendo Direct focused on Wii Fit U, God, that game had its own Direct? I don't think it even sold 1 million copies. Whatever, doesn't matter. It happened. The next installment of the Wii Sports series was finally announced, and the excitement quickly died. Wii Sports Club is not a new game. It's a remake of the original. Iwata even says so in its reveal trailer. Each game has been updated to use Wii Motion Plus, and two of them even use the gamepad. There's online play, which is cool, and you can even use Miiverse, or could have I guess, to communicate during gameplay, which is neat. You can set your club as any state in America. I chose Florida because I don't think anyone else will. That's it! Effectively, that is all the game is on paper. No frills, no excitement, no anything. But thankfully, there's more to talk about. This remake was developed by Bandai Namco, with Nintendo EAD and core members of the Wii Sports team coming in to help with development. Takayuki Shimamura, for example, was the director of all 3 games in the series. That's all I really got from the Iwata Asks interview. That's all that interesting. This thing is so much smaller than the other ones I've read for this video, it's weird. The game used Nintendo's soon-to-be old reliable, the piecemeal release. You know how Splatoon launched with only 1 mode out of 4 and barely any maps, or how Kirby Star Allies launched with barely anything and had its actual ending released 6 months after it came out, or how Mario Strikers Battle League launched with almost no content at all for $60 and is still pretty much like that almost 3 years later? Stop doing this! So, Wii Sports Club launched with 2 sports, bowling and tennis. You were able to rent out the sports for 24 hours, kind of like a club, or buy the sport outright for $10. Nowadays, you can only play the game officially through either having bought everything digitally already, or having a physical release, which, shocker, sold like ass and is one of the more expensive Wii U games. I remember in 2014 when I got my Wii U. This game was free on the eShop, so I decided to give it a go. It then said I could play the game for one day, but then I would have to pay for the full experience. 10-year-old Drea did the sensible thing and just didn't play after that first time, and I think most people did that too. This whole structure was flawed from its inception. I have no idea why they thought anyone would want to spend $10 a sport when they probably already own Wii Sports. Hell, I didn't, but I still saw this as a bad deal. But whatever. The game does stupid shit with its pricing, it's a completely pointless purchase, but do the sports at least play better? No! I don't know why, but these sports feel way worse to play than they ever did to the original. Tennis feels way more floaty, and it's way harder to hit the ball with Motion Plus than it ever was before. Bowling is pretty much the same as it was in Resort, but the Miis in the back don't flip out if you throw a ball behind you, so it loses some points. Baseball feels way less accurate now, but it does have this fun gamepad feature where you play pitcher with it and use a gyro and the gamepad to grab a flying ball. That's a fun use of the system, I like that. I already never liked golf, even when it's great. This sport in particular though just did not cooperate with me at all. It got to the point where I had to move the Wii remote in the opposite direction to actually swing. For golf, you have to use the gamepad as the center for where the ball is, which at best is cute, and at worst is irritating because it assumes that the Wii remote is always pointed at the gamepad, which is not the case. Boxing lets you use 2 Wii remotes, which is awesome, glad to see that implemented, but it, like the other games in the package, feels inferior to what came before. It's not bad, but it feels far more restrictive than it ever did on the Wii. I think I'm comfortable saying this is a bad game. It does nothing truly original. Everything it borrows from the original Wii Sports is done either the same or worse. It looks super desaturated. The music is way worse. This game just sucks. And with that, the Wii series met its unceremonious end. The series started as a trailblazer, setting unprecedented sales records for the entire industry, and also making use of increasingly intriguing technologies. However, ended the same way it started, both in terms of the game, but also with opinions. Did people like these games because there was something in them that was worth playing? Or was it purely nostalgia? Or that some of these games were some of the best-selling games of all time? This started around the time of the Wii's release, the disacknowledgement of motion controls in gaming. It became an increasing mindset around the early 2010s. In reality, the technology Nintendo was experimenting with, particularly the gyroscope in the Wii Motion Plus, 3DS, and the Wii U gamepad, would become increasingly popular in games in the years to come. Gyro aim is a major feature in Nintendo games, being used in the Switch's Zelda games, every Splatoon game, Mario Odyssey's Tank Enemy, Pokemon Legends Arceus' Pokeball throwing mechanics. It's an incredibly underrated feature that makes the aiming in these games that much better. No matter what you want to say about the Wii series, no matter how gimmicky, how annoying, how strange, or frankly unfun the games were at times, there is one thing you could not say. You could never say that these games didn't try to expand upon these technologies, that the development teams didn't care about making quality products. And although this is where the Wii series would be laid to rest, the Miis lived on. It would take time, but in late 2016, the time finally arrived for the Miis to be reborn. The year is 2016. Nintendo has just unveiled the Switch, and hope seems bright for a company for the first time in a long time. But in the background, a Nintendo Direct releases in Japan, showing off a new experimental RPG to be released the following month. That game was none other than Miitopia. Nobody would know about the announcement though. I have no idea why, but most English-speaking information sources like Wikipedia and the Wiki don't mention Miitopia's reveal at all. Maybe because it was in a Japanese exclusive Direct, but still, the information is helpful. I linked a re-upload of the Direct in the description if you're interested. It's actually a pretty interesting one. It features its own storyline about a girl working in the soul-sucking world of capitalism and being depressed. It's pretty interesting to see how game-specific Directs are handled in different regions, honestly. Tomodachi Lives was made by Nintendo of America and is one of the goofiest things of all time, while Miitopia's Direct, which is still a very light-hearted and goofy game, has a much more serious tone and goes over its information in a more straightforward way. Just thought that was cool. Maybe I'll turn this into an environmental breakdown later, like I did with Stupid Miis. Miitopia would go on to release in Japan on December 8th, 2016, just 1 month after its reveal direct. The game would then release in the West on July 28th of 2017, along with Hey Pikmin and the new Nintendo 2DS XL. A week earlier, Splatoon 2 came out too. Nintendo had a real busy few weeks there. To me, Miitopia seems like a fun concept, but I didn't check it out when it launched. It was the Switch's launch year. I was more focused on that than the 3DS. I did see it in GameStop a couple years later though and decided to try it out. I think it was probably the last 3DS game I bought from a major retailer before the thing was discontinued. Anyways, I played to completion and had a really good time with it. It was right before the pandemic started, and I don't have a great memory of what happened after the first part, but it was an insanely charming experience. Unfortunately though, it was an experience that few would get an opportunity to play, due to how late in 3DS's life it came out. Thankfully though, Nintendo had our backs. Not for any other 3DS games though, you better pray you can buy them with minimal upgrades for triple the price. Wow, I love this company. In February of 2021, Nintendo announced a Switch remaster of Miitopia, and I think it was fair to say most people are confused. There were and still are a ton of amazing 3DS games still stranded on the system, and that more people need to experience. Kid Icarus Uprising, A Link Between Worlds, Bravely Default, Pokemon X and Y. Hell, where the hell is Tomodachi like? Okay, while this video was being made, Bravely Default did get announced for the Switch too, but that's not even on the original Switch, and my point still stands. Why Miitopia out of all games? For my money, it was probably the game that had the most untapped potential. Minus Samus Returns and Ever Oasis and okay, I'm just gonna shut up now. But seriously, Miitopia is not perfect, but there definitely is appeal for a wide variety of people. You can see that from just one of the new features added in the Switch remaster, the Mii Makeup Tool. This tool expands the Mii Creator to add tons more customization and leads to many Miis that look scarily close to many different characters. It's insanely cool, and for the occasion, I decided to show you all some of my favorites that I found while looking. Okay, maybe this was a mistake. Oh, also this game is gorgeous now. I don't think it's that surprising that a 3DS game looks better on the Switch, but you look at something like DKC Returns HD, and it's basically the same as the Wii and 3DS versions visually. This, on the other hand, was a massive graphical overhaul. I'm really happy that this game got it. Now, if we got more 3DS games with this level of care when being ported over, that would be great, please and thank you. Or any 3DS games at all. Really, anything at all. Please. You ported the Wii U's entire library but barely touched the 3DS with a 10-foot pole. What the hell are you doing? So, I think the port overall is one of the best of the Switch's lineup, which is very high praise considering how many great ports there are. But what about the game itself? It's fine. I think it's all in the gameplay loop for me. You only control the main Mii, with the others doing their own things in turn-based combat. Each Mii has personality traits which dictate what they do in the battles at all times, and depending on the relationship between party members, they'll do tag team attacks or blocking attack for someone or something. I actually really like this in concept. In gameplay though, it just gets a bit monotonous, especially due to how the game is split up as different levels on a world map, so there isn't really much exploration at all like you would expect in an RPG. I think Miitopia is a really fun and cute game that just doesn't work at all in long bursts, and becomes incredibly mindless after a while. I really like what it does, but it's no Tomodachi like. If you want to check it out though, there's a demo on the eShop. It's pretty meaty too, so if you're considering buying the game, I'd definitely say try out the demo first. The save data transfers over to the full game too. This honestly bumped me out a little bit though. I thought it was so much better than it actually is, but I just think it's okay. That doesn't seem right at all. Okay, well, we're already at our final game in the lineup. Maybe we're ending on a high note? What the hell even is Nintendo Switch Sports? 2022's smash hit, apparently, was first announced in early 2022, after most fans of the Wii series gave into alcoholism. The Miis were severely underused during the entire Switch generation. For a while, the only times they were used was when Nintendo was obligated to have them in. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had them in because they were in the Wii U version, Smash Ultimate had them because of the goofy marketing slogan they had. NSMBU Deluxe got content from the Wii U version though, so I'm surprised they're there. Things definitely ramped up as the years passed, but the Miis were still barely used at all, much less Mii games coming along. The only thing we got was a remake of Miitopia 4 years into the system's life. But then came a Nintendo Direct. which started with Kirby deep-throating a car. In the middle of the direct, they threw the biggest curveball since 2015's Little Mishap. A new Wii Sports game? Oh my god, I'm so excited! What is that? That's right, this new entry forgoes Miis entirely, at least in its marketing. These are called sports mates. I hate them! The way these things looked always gave me a bad vibe, like Nintendo was trying to get rid of the Miis entirely. I don't know if that's the case, but either way, I don't like these things. Does this make me an Avatar racist? The game was slated to launch on April 22nd, with 6 sports available at launch, with golf coming at a later date, which got delayed. Trust me, you do not want to live in a world where it wasn't delayed. That's not the end of the updates though, as basketball was added in July 2024. You could have spent those 2 years just working on a new game instead, you guys. I don't think the basketball mode brought anyone back to the game, especially since this was a month after the Switch 2 was formally announced in a Twitter post. I don't know what I was expecting, but not this. Anyways, development time! The game started production well into the Switch's life, as general producer for the system and the most prolific director of the 3D Mario games, Yoshiaki Koizumi, wanted a new Wii Sports game for the system. Initially, the team felt that they had already done so much with the formula, and weren't sure how they could make anything new with it. This eventually led to the team focusing more on the atmosphere of the game instead of throwing your controller at an expensive television. By the time they realized that they were going in the wrong direction, years had already passed. Oops. Around the halfway point, they did a complete 180. The new direction was making the game as fun and accessible to everyone as humanly possible, just like the other Wii Sports games. It's also worth mentioning that although there were a handful of people who worked on Wii Sports before this game, according to the Ask Developers interview anyway, way worse name than what asks, by the way, you should feel ashamed to Nintendo. Over 90% of the staff had never worked on Wii Sports before. There isn't a lot like it either, so they more than likely had no experience with motion-controlled games at all. That's just a hunch though. Basically, the development had some real snags. Snags that I think you can feel playing the game. Like, you seriously didn't have enough time to put golf in at launch? If there were more than it in basketball, which is more of a unique case, then I'd kind of understand. But it was just golf that was post-launch content for years. My guess was that there were a lot of cut content due to everything going on behind the scenes, but that's just me going all out speculation again. So, how about the game itself? Does it have any redeeming qualities? Actually, yeah, I think it does. First off, it's obvious that this game prioritizes online play far more than local play. You can unlock specific gear online, it's the first and biggest item on the main menu, you get it. I don't really care if that's the case, but it's going to be really sad in 5 years or even a decade when the Switch's online functionality is shut down and we're left with the main mode just inaccessible. Doesn't mean you don't want to make Jesus cry by hacking your Switch. Anyways, on to the games, the part that actually matters. Tennis is okay. I like how the motion controls feel in this iteration. It feels like you actually have an impact on the trajectory of the ball for the first time in the series. You can't really beat Wii Sports in terms of the vibe, but in terms of actual mechanics, it's a solid improvement. Speaking of which, bowling feels wrong. The ball feels light, like it doesn't take any effort to throw it or something. You don't let go of the button anymore, which feels off too, although at least that I can get, as they probably wanted to spare lives of TVs the world over. It's just a downgrade overall. Really disappointing. Golf. I've never liked golf much in any of the games, but here it's probably the best. I don't really know. Like bowling, it feels way more floaty and like gravity isn't as much of a factor when playing, but that makes it more fun for me here. I don't know what to say. Chambra, called Swordplay and Resort, suffers from similar pitfalls as the other games. Doesn't feel nearly as satisfying to destroy your opponent, but I'm glad it came over at least. Swordplay is a classic, and if there's ever another Switch Sports, I hope they bring back archery and the island flyover. Basketball! The sport was 2 years late, so it better be spectacular. Okay, so don't get mad at me. I might like this more than Resort's basketball. I know Basketball Resort is beloved and all, but I just didn't enjoy myself all too much. This new version is not much different, but it felt a lot more fun to me here. It also has its own credits. How many games can say they have a credit sequence for just one minigame? New sports time. Badminton is tennis, but floatier. I like it, but I also like tennis. I don't really think we need both. Volleyball is actually really fun. I love how spiking the ball feels, and it's just a great addition to the lineup. Soccer is not. I don't even know what happened here. Some of the games are pretty good, some are not all that, but soccer was the only game I actively disliked playing. I think a lot of it comes down to its complexity. Physically, Nintendo Switch Sports comes bundled with a Joy-Con strap, which actually is not a Nintendo licensed BDSM toy, but rather a leg strap for use in soccer. Kick your leg to kick the ball. Very simple. The ball is a huge Goliath, and you have a run meter that runs out by shaking the other Joy-Con, and it's very likely you'll go into overtime, so it can be difficult to angle the ball properly considering it's so damn big. Is this the worst movie sports minigame? I don't know. Still sucks though. Overall, Nintendo Switch Sports is just an uneven package. It has definite problems, and no one hell would I recommend it at $50, even 40. But it's still Wii Sports at the end of the day. For the first original Mii game in 5 years though, I definitely expected more. It's not a bad game at all. I had more fun with it than a lot of the games I talked about here, but it has just enough holding it back from greatness. Still port resort to modern systems, you cowards. Now, that was supposed to be the end. I had the script finished in early March, ready to be edited into this homunculus of a video. But then, Nintendo threw me a curveball of gigantic proportions. Tomodachi Light, living the dream. I want to talk about it a little bit here and what it can mean for Miis going forward. Firstly, I kinda started crying when it was announced, I'm not kidding. I've been waiting for a third Tomodachi game since I was 9 years old. I've been actively pleading for it since around 2019, and by this year, I had completely given up hope. And because of this, I had written my conclusion about any idea that any Mii news would come around anytime soon. Especially not like this. So, thanks Nintendo for screwing over my 2-hour-long video and making me have to delay it just to make sure it's not horribly outdated before the editing even finishes. But what could it mean for the future of the Miis? Is it brighter now? Maybe? I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how well this will sell. Yes, it will be available on both Switch 1 and Switch 2 thanks to backwards compatibility. However, I have no clue how many people will be rushing out to buy what in their eyes is a new game on 9-year-old hardware. I mean, I'm gonna be doing that, but then again, not everyone makes 2-hour-long videos on the Miis. I think what made Tomodachi Life so successful on the 3DS specifically is when it came out. Late 2013 Japan and mid 2014 worldwide. That was the peak of the 3DS, hands down. The Switch is 1 foot out the door for all we know. We also don't know if the Miis are riding on this game to be successful. I mean, I hope not, but you can never know with Nintendo. I still haven't forgotten about what you did to Chibi Robo, you monsters. There's just not much to say, honestly. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video when it releases and see how things are looking then, but for now, yay. And that was the complete story of the Miis, more or less. There are still a bunch of games I wanted to cover, but that would have made the runtime go from an hour and a half to like 5 years. But who said I couldn't quickly rush through them, huh? That's right, baby, we're doing a quick time event! Personal Trainer Walking, a DS game that tracks your steps and Miis Miis. Will let you transfer Miis from your Wii the same way Tomodachi Collection did. It was one of the few DS games that featured Miis that came out outside of Japan. The Everybody Votes channel put Miis everywhere down the alt-right path. The Check Me Out channel judged your Mii against Obama. No shit your Mii lost. Have you seen that man smile? Wii Sports got a Nintendo Selects free release for $20. This might be the most pointless thing I've ever seen. Oh god, I spoke too soon. The Street Pass app on 3DS used Miis abundantly and had a ton of minigames made for it. One of them is on stock market. We just let this happen for 5 years straight. So many games have had the Miis as playable characters, but god damn it, Mario Kart 7 is not a Mii game and I don't think I need to explain why. These bitches aren't the focus Honey Queen is. It did have Woohoo Island though, so that's awesome. Miitomo was Diet Tomodachi Life on your phone, but also not and was a more social-oriented version. It shut down during mid-bling. Pikmin Bloom has the honor of being the most successful Mii mobile game. It's Pokemon Go, but Pikmin and Mii, so it's an automatic improvement. Swapno proved that Nintendo could somehow get into a scandal even worse than homophobia. That's insane. Do we count Miiverse? What about My Nintendo? Do we count the fucking Mii icons you can have on the Switch? Look at mine, isn't it so funny? The Miis have an incredibly long history. Even when they're in the background, they're still a part of Nintendo, whether they want them to be or not. The Miis, at least to me, are a mascot representation of Nintendo's personality. Their birth came after one of the most influential people in the industry tried again and again to let the Avatar concept flourish for nearly 2 decades, with almost nothing being shown to the public. During the Wii and Wii U era, the quality of their games directly mirrored Nintendo's rise and fall of their Blue Ocean strategy. And going into the Switch generation, the Miis were put into the background, much like Nintendo's personality. It was certainly still there, but they put their focus on the games instead of their wackiness. The Miis might not ever get a major game again, but they're not going away entirely. Not just because of their popularity, not just because they're incredibly popular characters in both Smash Bros. And Mario Kart. Just kidding, that's probably enough of a reason to keep them around. But it's also because they represent what Nintendo is at its core. A goofy, lovable jack-of-all-trades that accidentally found itself on the cusp of greatness, going further than anyone would have ever expected. Both the Miis and Nintendo got very lucky with their rises into the mainstream. The Famicom was never even intended to be distributed by Nintendo outside of Japan. Instead, it was initially going to be distributed by Atari, which would have led to Nintendo's name being far less recognized than it is today, especially considering how Atari had a very poor track record of giving game developers recognition they deserved. However, Steve Bristow, God rest his soul, decided to forego distributing a Famicom, which led Nintendo to distribute it themselves. Would there even be Miis today if Atari distributed a Famicom? I don't know. The same holds true for much of the Miis history. What would have happened if the 64 disk drive released across the entire world and Mario Artist was a huge success? Would they have taken the role that the Miis have? Although the future of the Miis is still very much uncertain, we at least know it doesn't end here. Tomodachi life living the dream, for all we know, can usher in a new renaissance for the Miis. Will my idea of what the Miis are change with this game? Will it stay the exact same? And what will it say about Nintendo in the Switch 2 generation? I have just one question to leave you with. Do the Miis have genitals?